This is the 7th time. Same spot, same result.
This can't be coincidence. Something down there remembers.
By the time the 7th invasion plan collapsed at the exact same coordinate, fleet analyst Vantrell stopped assuming coincidence. Something down there remembered. 200 light-years away, in a beige apartment with a broken ceiling fan, I was doing what I always did on a Tuesday, playtesting a strategy game beta for $9 an hour, complaining about the balance patch, and eating cereal directly from the box because I hadn't done dishes since Thursday. The game was called Starfront Ascendant. Some tiny studio nobody had heard of. Buggy as hell. Gorgeous art though. My job, such as it was, consisted of clicking through skirmish after skirmish and filling out a feedback form every time something felt off. I was, by any reasonable definition, extremely good at noticing when something felt off. Undiagnosed, according to my mother. Useful, according to my paycheck. I'd been doing it 6 months, 45 minutes a day, and none of my friends quite believed what I did for a living, mostly because I didn't either. Bug report 41. I typed, not looking up for my 3rd bowl of cereal. You already tried flanking through the northern ridge. Didn't work then either. Might want to patch that. In the depth chamber beneath Carvo Station, scientist Ayaska frowned at the readout. The subject, designation Kevin, a low-priority test node folded into their strategic simulation lattice without his knowledge, using his planet's harmless little video game as cover, had just referenced a battle plan from a divergent timeline 3 branches removed from the one currently running. He should know about the northern ridge, Ayaska said. That timeline was pruned. It never happened here. Then he's guessing, said fleet analyst Vantrell, arriving to review the anomaly himself. He's guessed correctly 140 times in a row. Vantrell didn't answer right away. He ran it again instead. New branch, new opening, 6,000 permutations deep into a war simulation, so vast it required an entire moon's worth of processing crystal just to model the first 10 moves. Kevin finished his cereal, opened a new match, and 40 seconds in, typed, "Oh, we're doing the pincer thing again? Same as Timeline 40, Timeline 62, and that one weird one where the general had a mustache." There was no general with a mustache in this branch. There hadn't been one in 11 branches. There had been one in branch 63. Pruned 9 cycles ago, sealed, unrecoverable, by every rule Ayaska understood, unremembered by anything that still existed. How? Ayaska asked the empty chamber. Does he remember a timeline that no longer exists? They tried a different approach entirely, on the theory that perhaps it was the pincer maneuver specifically that he'd memorized, some fluke of pattern recognition rather than anything deeper. So they ran a naval feint through the outer rings instead, a strategy that had never once appeared in any branch Kevin had personally played. It was new. It was, Ayaska insisted, genuinely unpredictable. 41 seconds in, Kevin typed, "Haven't seen this one before, but it's got the same thin the middle, hit the flanks energy as the last patch, feels like Reskin pincer honestly, still free win if you just hold center." He held center. He won in 6 minutes. He did not appear to notice he had done anything remarkable. Fleet Commander Halveth Karn was summoned. She did not summon easily, and she did not like being wrong about why she'd been summoned, which she was twice, before anyone worked up the nerve to show her the actual logs. She reviewed them twice, then a 3rd time, her mandibles very still in a way her staff had learned, over several unpleasant years, to fear. "You are telling me," she said slowly, "that our entire precognitive war modeling engine, built to simulate every possible invasion of this species across 10,000 probability branches so that the Dravak Imperium would never enter a war it could lose, has been running for 6 months inside a device this creature believes is a video game?" "Yes, Commander." "And he has been beating it, casually, while eating breakfast cereal in his sleep clothes. He calls it noticing when the AI reuses stuff." Commander Halveth Karn said nothing for a long moment. Then she asked them to pull every branch, all the way back to the very first simulated invasion, the one where the fleet slipped through the outer asteroid belt undetected and took the human homeworld in 11 days without firing a shot. It had been their favorite, their cleanest, their proof of concept. Kevin's feedback form for that branch, filed 4 months ago, read simply, Enemy fleet came from the asteroid belt. No radar ping. Feels cheap. Please fix. Also, can you add a pause button? They had fixed it. In the next branch, and the one after that, and every branch since, because that is what a feedback form does inside a system designed to learn from complaints. It patches the exploit. Kevin had never once suspected he was doing anything but grumbling about difficulty balance on a beta nobody paid him enough to care about. He had, across 6 months of bug reports, systematically and unknowingly closed every viable invasion route the simulation could generate, one annoyed paragraph at a time. He didn't defeat us, Ayaska said quietly, once the shape of it finally landed. He debugged us. He thinks it's a chore he's slightly too good at. Vantrell pulled up Kevin's public feedback history, all 611 entries of it. Not one used the words strategy, military, or tactics. Every single one used the words annoying, cheap, or come on again. There is no surviving branch, Vantrell said, in which we win. Not one. He has personally, unknowingly, closed all 10,000. Without knowing our empire exists. Without knowing the war was real. He thought he was helping a small indie studio ship a better product. Commander Halveth Karn stared for a long time at the projection of Kevin's apartment. Cereal box open on the counter, ceiling fan wobbling on its mount, a sticky note on the monitor that read, "Remember to actually apply for real jobs." This was the being who had, across 10,000 simulated timelines and 6 patch cycles, developed a perfect, instinctive memory for every strategy their entire military doctrine could produce, and had dismantled each one for free, in his pajamas, for a $9 hourly rate and a studio t-shirt he was still owed. Do we proceed with invasion? Ayaska asked carefully. Or do we hire him? Neither option survives contact with legal, Vantrell said. There is no category for the target species produces individuals who accidentally audit the concept of war itself. I checked. Twice. Commander Halveth Karn was quiet long enough that the junior officers began exchanging glances. When she finally spoke, it was not to Ayaska or Vantrell, but to the recording drone hovering near the ceiling, dictating directly into the permanent archive of the Dravak Imperium. Let the record show, she said, that this fleet was defeated not by a weapon, not by a general, not by a fleet of its own. It was defeated by a man who thought he was doing quality assurance on his lunch break.
She paused.
Strike the word defeated. Replace it with quietly and thoroughly discouraged. I would like to preserve some dignity, if any remains to preserve. Nobody answered after that. Nobody in that chamber could construct a version of the question that ended well for the Imperium either way, and after several long seconds of silence, someone finally suggested, very quietly, that they simply stop running the simulation and hope Kevin never opened the beta again. I didn't know any of that, obviously. I just knew the devs kept recycling the same 3 opening moves and hoping I wouldn't clock it, which, respectfully, was a bad bet because noticing repeated patterns is genuinely the only marketable skill I currently have. I filed bug report 612. Pincer move again, seriously, mix it up. Also still no pause button, guys. Close my laptop and want to go see if there was more cereal. There wasn't. There's never more cereal. Some things really are the same in every timeline. I never did hear back from that studio. Figure they went under, honestly, half these indie betas do.
Kind of a shame.
Wish they'd at least added the pause button first. 3 galaxies over. A species that had spent 400 years preparing for a war it was now formally, unanimously required to never start again, filed its official withdrawal report under the heading, Unknown Hostile Capability, Source Unconfirmed. Unofficially, everyone in that chamber knew exactly what the source was. His name was Kevin. He had a serial problem and a gift for déjà vu, and as far as I know, he still hasn't updated his resume.